Okay, welcome everyone once again. We are once again here at our weekly hypnosis discussion group. And I want to welcome everybody, Peter, Alex, Graham, Dwayne, and anyone else I might have missed, but I welcome you. So what I want to discuss today is I have, one second, I want to make sure we've got things here. There we go. Uh, One of the things I've done and I've made available to pretty much anyone who asks is my operations manual, which is functionally how I do my business. And I make it very clear that it is a living document. It's something I am constantly adding to and modifying and things like that. And I realized that I've had people who have this who maybe have not updated all the changes I've made. So I wanted to articulate some of the changes and why they're useful. And when we're done here, those people who are just starting out and want to build a hypnosis practice, I have an offer that can allow them to sort of benefit from my experience. So if you have the link to the manual, I call it, I recommend you download it. And I want to go through a couple of things that I've recently worked with, as this particular program is, I will say, genetically linked to Jeff Stevens. And so you will find a lot of his DNA in the hypnosis process here, and I give him a great deal of credit for doing that. And but it also has evolved. So those who have this, you are welcome to make it your own and contribute your own sort of DNA to this process, and modify it, use it as you see fit. If you don't have it and you want it, contact me personally, and I will tell you what you need to do in order to get access to it. So this particular process is 3 sessions, and I think I've mentioned that. The very first session is often going to be the most dramatic. It's the one in which most people get the result. They see themselves as a non-smoker, or they realize I don't need to smoke anymore. It just feels so much easier saying no to smoking. So, and this can apply also to anxiety. It can apply to habits and weight loss and things like that. So that's the first session. The sessions beyond that are about reinforcing that, but really enhancing their sense of self, so they actually start to see themselves differently. And so what I've done, if you go to the bottom of the document, I've created a separate document that's simply called homework. And at the end of the first session, I will begin a conversation with them and I'll talk about this homework with them and then forward it to them to meet up with me during the second session. And this has several benefits, but I'll just tell you how this is used. The homework is very simple. It's first, make an agreement that whatever your outcome is, you are not going to stop trying to get there. And that simply means you will never give up. You will never give up. Along this journey that you've decided to put yourself on, there'll be victories that you celebrate and lessons that you learn from. But because you're never going to give up, there are no real failures. And a failure is only going to happen if you give up entirely or you refuse to learn from the experience. So framing it in that way, even a smoker who decides they're going to be a non-smoker, they don't have to see a hypnotist if they agree to this term, that there's a moment in their future they're going to just not smoke anymore. Every step between now and then is a victory or a lesson. They don't give up. So that's the first pretense of the homework. And the second part of the homework is to lead into the second session. The the second part of the homework, and again, in this document, it's at the very end. The second part of this homework is to define the ideal version of yourself. And I want you to do this in your own head. In order to define the ideal version of yourself, define 3 beliefs that this ideal version of you holds and believes. That's the first step. Define 3 daily habits this version of you will do. And this one is really important. Define 3 things that are non-negotiable for this ideal version of yourself. And so I will present that to my client at the end of the session, and we'll talk about it. We'll may get a couple of ideas, but I'll also let them know that during the course of the week before we work together next, they're to go to this every day and clarify every one of these definitions. And I give some examples. For example, if daily habit is health, the example is I prioritize sleep, diet, and exercise. I sleep at a specific time. I focus on healthy foods, and I exercise 5 to 7 days a week, something like that. If the daily habit is one of self-improvement, then I add the definition of self-improvement there. So again, giving this to them, I sort of drop the leash and have them run wild, having already made a change in their mind through the first session of hypnosis. And when we get back together, I'll go over what they've noticed, and I'll go over their experience and go over their homework. So here, after this week, we're going to have a much clearer definition of what this ideal version of themselves is. And we'll talk about every one of those. And of course, I write it down because it's going to be used in this session. I also like to sort of open the boundaries, and I have them, I remind them that once you reach this ideal version of yourself, this version of you is going to have their own new beliefs they hold. They're going to have their own new daily habits. They're going to have their own things they hold non-negotiable, just building upon that. Every time I mention that, they smile because they realize this is the potentiality of this is like just going to be increasing. So with the second session coming up, what I do is I go through the second session, and a central part of the second session, by the way, hello, Jeremy, it's a pleasure seeing you. The central part of the second session is what's called the black room. You may know it as, if you're familiar with some hypnosis processes, you may know it as the allergy cure, the hypnotic allergy cure. It's essentially I have the person in a room with a glass wall around them or in front of them, and someone who is not them, but someone who lives by these beliefs, these 3 daily habits, these non-negotiables, comes into the room, and they get to watch this person behave through their life living by this standard that they've set up. The next step is, again, behind this glass wall. A door opens, and they see themselves come through the other side of the room and then merge with this person and take on all of these. And they get to witness themselves living by these standards that they've set for themselves. And the next step is that glass wall moves away. And so you have 2 versions of this one person together. And a modification that I have recently put in there is I allow this version to talk to the person and tell them first how much they love them, how much they're going to guide them, how they're going to guide them with wisdom, and do it even without a thought on their part. And then I have them I have them embrace and sort of melt into each other. So now the hypnosis subject has all of these strengths inside of them. And it continues on in the typical allergy removal hypnosis process, where you have now this person goes through their life living by these standards. And what I found is this creates a much more powerful impact than how the process was done before. And I'm talking about the second session. Does anyone have any questions about this? And we can go a little further. Okay, Alex, I see you raised your hand.
I know that 3 is pretty much a round number when it came to creating the new standards, the non-negotiables, and those. Does it have to be 3?
No.
I know particularly complex clients who might settle for 5 or even 7, but I might want to try and pare them down so that if they had a whole bunch of them like that, I could just say clump all the similar ones together.
Right.
But it might still be a lot more than just 3. So
I would say try and limit to 3, but it's when you start to define those where you can add a lot of detail. So limited to 3, like health is like one of the ones I give an example, but I define it in terms of exercise, diet, and sleep. So those are, and again, as specific as is necessary. So it's a very good question. And I understand people really want to, quote, work on themselves. And so they pile up all these virtues and all these deep, profound values that they want to live by. But start with 3 and just promise to go back to it every day. Yes. So good question. Good observation.
Thank you. Sorry, I was about to say, it's like theologians put all this, the deadly sins in and just said 7. They probably had something like 49, but then the abbot came along and then said, look, we haven't got a paper for that, so cut them short.
Yeah, we can keep our thumbs on people with 7 sins. That's more than enough. I agree. Yeah. Yeah. Did anyone else have any question? All right. Okay. Another process that I added is again near the end. It's simply called "Let Go." ... It's essentially a hypnosis script, and I put it in there for a couple of reasons. Some people who come very tensed up, who are like clinging to everything, who have rules that go inside their head every moment about their behaviors. It's always good to just have them experience what it's like to just let go. And this works as a very good audio recording. If you want to just record it as an audio, in fact, I have it on my website to listen to. It works very good just to send it to somebody. So that's the other version. Oh, and then I have also recently added, and we had a discussion about this a few years ago, the 6 essential elements of influence, according to Chase Hughes: how to create expectancy, focus, openness, connection, compliance, and suggestibility, and how to do it in the context of the hypnosis process. So I'm going to pause, and I want to sort of back up. One of the things when you have this document that is the homework, I have found it even beneficial to give it to people at the first session, or even when they're just calling and don't schedule with me. I have found I have some really good conversations, and people really enjoy it, and they like working with me because I give them my time and I say, I want you to think about setting this in your mind that regardless of whether you work with me, you're not giving up. And you're building a version of yourself. You don't just want to change a habit, you want to be a better person. And we talk about this. So I will email that to them. And it does create a kind sense of generosity in their hearts to work with me. They'll remember me because I gave them all this sort of stuff. Okay. Any questions or comments? Okay. One of the things I have found, because I've made my document so open, is I have had a couple people want to start a hypnosis practice. And so I've basically set up a coaching service to do that, in which we have an end result. The end result could be you get your first coaching client, or you get your first hypnosis client, or you really understand the process and you can just do it on your own. Either way, we set an end goal in mind, and I will coach you through on a weekly basis the things you need to do, starting with the website, the content, getting your scripts or processes in order, as well as how to use business Google profile and things like that. So you start really setting things up accordingly to get good search engine optimization. For things that are out of my control, like I'm not an expert at SEO. I can always refer you out and to people who I trust who can do that. And for those who want to do it, it's every coaching session's just a single fee. It's $166. We set up our objectives. I drop the leash and sort of let you go for a week. You can always email me with questions or phone calls. And then when we get back together, we see how much you've done and how further you have to go and set further objectives. So it's just like hypnosis, it's very goal-oriented. And I have found it works incredibly well with the people I've been working with. Let's see. In addition, the only thing changes I notice occasionally, I will make small verbal changes that aren't really worth mentioning. It's just I notice I tend to write things. I tend to say, having said these processes so many times, I find better ways of saying them. So I'll make little changes, hardly with bringing attention to it because they're all there. But what I'd recommend anyone to do who has this, who doesn't want to hire me, and if you do, great. But if you don't, you've got this operations manual. I tell people, first, read it all the way through. That's the most important part. Then, because I've divided each of the 3 hypnosis sessions into parts, you can take each part and copy and paste it to build your own hypnosis script. I have one client he lives in Cancun, so he is translating this all into Spanish for his clients. And it's just a much easier process. And then once you have it copied and pasted, you have a script of the process, and just practice it. Just read it aloud. Imagine there's a person in the chair and you're hypnotizing them. And then get a human being who wants to be a willing guinea pig and hypnotize them. And one of the things I can help with coaching is getting a really good sense of confidence in your skill as a hypnotist. And I certainly believe the world needs some good hypnotists out there. So thank you for the head nods. I appreciate it. All right. Does anyone have any questions? All right. Guys, I hope this has been
about this or about stuff in general.
I'm open to stuff in general.
Oh boy. All right. question. And the so my hypnosis experience, I was doing all of it in person, almost all of it in person for the 12 years that I
Yeah.
was doing clinical. And now that I'm doing the Forge, well, the Voyage, um, the vision, identity, belief, execution stuff with the groups, it's all online via Zoom. And I've realized that even with the stage work that I did, I was very touchy. So instant inductions, all that kind of stuff, I was
Hmm.
a lot of it required the ability to command attention, like in their larger visual field and to touch and things like that. And so now I'm finding I'm at a little bit of a loss when I'm thinking about going on podcasts and doing publicity. I mean, back to some of the original stuff that we
Yeah.
met around, like in 2000, what, three?
Three.
Something like
Yes.
that. Yeah. And so it's been interesting to see like how I don't really feel like I have lots of trauma to be able to give over Zoom using hypnotic techniques. I mean, we can always
Yeah.
do magnetic fingers and stuff like that, but
Right.
that's kind of what I was
Okay.
joining today for.
If you're
So if y'all have
talking of,
ideas, I'm open.
yeah, if you're talking about a podcast, that's an entirely different environment. Mostly
Yeah,
you want to be about 75% entertaining and 25% informative. So
exactly.
uh, there you can talk about some techniques, but actually practicing them is going to be it could be problematic. However, if you're
That's
working
what I'm
one,
imagining at least.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So have a set of stories. That's the best thing you do. A set of stories of
Mm,
of
yeah,
processes you've used, um, and the weirder the story, the better.
right.
It's always fun.
Yeah.
Uh,
Lean
uh,
in.
yeah, lean in. The way I do podcasts is I send a one sheet to them that has a
Yeah.
list of interesting questions that aren't answered in the information sheet. So they tend to rely on that a lot. Um, Now with Zoom, you can't be touchy feely if you're doing hypnosis one on one. I have personally found that not a problem. Is that a concern for you, Jeremy?
Uh, yeah, I mean, a lot of the podcasts are on video. So if I'm doing it with the host or if I'm doing a one-on-one session with someone to sell them into like a group coaching package or something like that, and I want to do a demo,
Uh-huh.
then I mean, doing things from stage was,
Yeah.
I guess, a similar vibe. You can't walk up to somebody and touch them before they come up on stage, really. You don't have the time.
Hmm.
So but yeah, that's definitely still sort of the concern.
If you have an
Um,
opportunity during a podcast to do a brief demonstration,
mhm,
and you're trusting this person is focused, is open, has a high expectation, is going to be compliant, you can get a really good result. I always like to, one of the ones I like
yeah.
to use is just talking about the mind works. And I use the example of imagine the most delicious hamburger you can imagine. And I can bet if you're making that picture in your head, it's on a black background, it takes up the whole screen, it's well lit, and it's rotating. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, notice what happens in your mind when you just bleed the color out of it, and notice how that appeal has totally changed.
Hmm.
And I always get a response of that with that. So that is a way of
Yeah,
introducing the power of the mind. And it gives
right.
them an understanding of what you're going to do when you're doing hypnosis.
Yeah. Okay, that does give some drama because, yeah, it doesn't have to be external stuff that they're experiencing as long as they can verify, okay, this is beyond just my imagination. I
Right.
am
Right.
The classic lemon salivation type stuff. I
The,
am feeling a physical effect from this, or I'm noticing something, and the listeners or the watchers can notice the same things in
right.
themselves. So,
But
okay,
another example
yeah,
is
thank you.
imagine someone who is the most attractive person that you can imagine coming up to you of whatever
Hmm.
gender that you're most attracted to. And as they come up smiling and tilting their head, they talk like Mickey Mouse. Like, oh my God. It's like, oh, you actually talk like that? And notice how that feeling changes. So
Mm.
again, you're just
Hmm.
using their imagination.
Right.
Okay, good.
Thank
And
you.
again, thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate it. And with
Hmm.
regard to one-on-one, again, the majority of my practice, while I do have my office, the majority of my practice is done through Zoom.
Right.
And when scheduling that, this is something I mentioned in my coaching sessions, which is you you are obligated to be totally transparent about it. And I'll mention I have my office in New Hampshire, and I have a Zoom call. Even when you come to my office, it's a professional environment, but I'm physically not there, and I want to be completely transparent and explain why it is. Very seldom do I get an objection. But if someone says I'd rather meet with a real person, not a problem. I just say there are some great hypnotists in the area, and I wish you the best. Don't give up. So yeah, I always have to give them control, and that minimizes all the resistance there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't encountered any resistance with this crowd because they're all accustomed to the online vibe.
Yeah.
That's what they're expecting from the first time they see the website. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's just how do I get some of the theater back into it for going on the interview circuit was really I haven't been a hypnotist for quite a while. I mean, just doing it for fun, but
Yeah.
um, leaning back in and getting some drama going with it for publicity's sake has been the thing. So yeah, those
Okay.
will be fun. Thank you.
All right. Good. Good. Graham, I saw you raise your hand.
Yeah, this is something that perhaps Jeremy might find useful for his
Please.
group settings. And I don't know if you've watched any of the past videos, but I did one of my favorite little tricks that I use with people who think they've got no imagination, and to demonstrate imagination being stronger than willpower. And it's the old hold your hands up and imagine you're holding your favorite candy bar between the end of it and get them to really visualize it. And then say, in a moment, but not right now, I'm going to give you an instruction that I want you to carry out. And then you give it a pause, and then you tell them to clap their hands and see how many people will actually not clap their hands because they've still got the idea of having that candy bar between their two palms. And the good thing
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
totally touch free, works great over the
Yeah.
internet as well, but still has that moment that you can share with everybody on it.
Yeah. Okay.
That's awesome. No, that
Thank
was
you.
really
I
good.
like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And here's another response I have for people who say, I don't imagine things well. I first let them know imagination happens on a spectrum. There are far side of the spectrum, people have aphantasia. They cannot see pictures in their mind's eye. Other side of the spectrum, which I'm on, I could hallucinate an apple floating in the air if I really focused on it. But I say, just imagine you're brought into a room and you're taken to the far side of the room. The exit door is closed and the lights turn off and it's black. And all I tell you is head toward the exit. You're not seeing a damn thing, but you know exactly what you're doing. So all you have to do is just imagine as though it's absolutely real, whether you see it or not. So hope that's a clarifying question there. Okay. Anyone else have any questions? Excellent. Okay. Well, it is always a joy to have you guys here. We're going to do it again next Friday, unless natural disasters occur. Knock on wood. And because you're here, you're not somewhere else. And so you sacrificed to be here, and I deeply appreciate the sacrifice you made to do that. So again, guys, thank you so very much. I appreciate it. Please take care.
As always, David, thank you very much.
And as always, thank you for arranging these sessions, David. It's really greatly appreciated.
Thank you. All right. Bye.
Likewise.
Take care. See you next week.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.